I just have never heard of anyone or any theological classroom would say just being friends with a gay person makes you a progressive or a liberal, not a conservative.
Issue. I guess one thing I would want to ask you is, in keeping with some of the people in the discussion forum, why wouldn't you call yourself a progressive Christian? Because certainly, relative to certain standards of conservatism, you are progressive.
I would just say that that's a profound misunderstanding of me. I think what's happened in a polarized climate is that we bundle ideas really tightly together. So if you can kind of identify a couple of things, it's like one person in the chat is trying to say I'm progressive because I'm friends with Nathan Lentz, who's a gay man. But just think about that for a moment. I just have never heard of anyone or any theological classroom would say just being friends with a gay person makes you a progressive or a liberal, not a conservative. That's just like an example of an absurd statement. Okay. So let's talk about what I would say conservatism is. I would distinguish it from fundamentalism and certainly maybe even from conservatism as it's understood in the United States in a narrow sense. I think I'm more aligned, I would say, with global Christianity and historical Christianity. That's why I point to the Lausanne Covenant. The Lausanne Covenant is really a statement from the global Christian community, and it's really intending to align itself with historical Christianity. That's also what I think Alyssa Childers is appealing to. When she defines Christianity, she's saying historical Christianity. And I think that there's intrinsic value in that tradition. I just don't really see it as coherent that God would raise Jesus from the dead and then somehow not really care providentially about how the church tradition develops. And that's the reason why I see high value in the Nicene and the Apostles' Creed. And the Athanasian, you just said it's not a creed, some people do. I see high value in these things. I see high value in the Trinity, even though I don't see it explicitly laid out, of the doctrine of the Trinity, even though I don't see it explicitly laid out in Scripture. And yeah, I do think that part of the church tradition is to negotiate these things. It's not supposed to be like a slavish commitment to what people have thought about in the past. But we have to have a good reason to move away from historical positions, and we have to do it in a good way. So to take, for example, some people are saying I'm a progressive and I'm not a conservative because I affirm evolution. But hey, I mean, I challenge you to actually read my book and look at how I affirm evolution. I affirm it in a way that is upholding, I would call, the historical tradition. It's not revisionist. I'd say the same thing also of Bill Craig. I think where I think the words that he would use this wouldn't be progressive versus conservative. He would say revisionist versus traditional. And I think that that's a good frame. I mean, I'd say I'm a traditionalist, and my concerns, honestly, and my objections, and maybe even my strong disagreement with progressive Christianity, is the sorts of revisions they're making have not been well justified. And at times, I think that they can be very dangerous. And it's not that I, in principle, think that we can never have a deconstruction and a reconstruction. On a personal level, that happens all the time. But when we're talking about, some pretty important theological concepts, we should have a good reason for departing from where the church has been for a long time. And in that sense, I'm kind of a weird sort of Protestant. I'm not a Catholic, but I do have a high value on tradition and the history of where Christians have been. And what I really have difficulty with about progressive Christians is really, frankly, a very commonly taken. You don't do this as much in your writing, to be clear, Randall, but I mean, I hope you can recognize that that's pretty common within the progressive Christianity world, is kind of an oppositionalism and like an a priori disagreement with the historical positions of the church. And I'd say often for reasons that I think are pretty poor, and I think that that's dangerous.